Hey, welcome to yet another episode of the Fit for Purpose podcast. My name's Brandon, and this is my co-host, Jacob.
Yeah, in today's episode, we talk all about the difference between weight loss on the scale and true fat loss on your body, and how strength and cardio exercises play into the differences here.
Hopefully this episode provides you a lot of clarity, and this conversation is helpful to you. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, so make sure you like, subscribe, and follow along. Check out this episode. We hope you guys love it.
We're not just talking about like instant success. We're talking about like long-term success. There's a method, and if you follow that method, results will come. Absolutely.
Just shifting the mindset from being like, I'm trying to lose weight to, I'm trying to do things in a strategic way so that I'm burning body fat. All right, man.
Okay.
What's going on?
Dude, not much. Spring break, going camping this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Where are you guys headed?
We're doing like Payson area. So it's kind of like, I don't know, Payson's like not quite to the mountains. It is, but it isn't, you know? It's not like fully dense forest.
It's like the
yet,
base of the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the Mongolian Rim or
Yeah. No, it's like
Mogollon.
yeah, it's like Mogollon. Mongolian. Mongolian.
Oh man.
It's gonna be hot.
Yeah, it's gonna be warm.
I mean, it'll be cooler up there.
I think the highs are like 90, maybe like high 80s. Hopefully there's some like shade and stuff.
Yeah.
My in-laws have a fifth wheel.
Oh, okay, cool.
So at least we'll be like at nighttime.
So you guys are glamping.
It's a little bit of glamping. Yeah.
You're not actually camping.
No, I don't know if with the two kids we could do like the full-on tent camping experience right now.
Shoot some squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't bring any food.
Yeah. Just tell your son.
We were going to scavenge and what's that dude that like the outdoor guy or outdoor, he like has the big YouTube channel.
Outdoor Boys?
Outdoor Boys.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That channel's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets a lot of views. Yeah, he'd be like 4 days in Alaskan winter, no food, no supplies.
Unreal. And he's like making his own shelter out of like I watched one where I think he was like maybe like British Columbia or like a little bit more north in Canada, and he makes this structure out of like just snow, like packs snow into this big bank to where it like as he lights the fire, it like insulates itself.
It like melts and
like the flames or like the heat kind of bounces off that wall, and because he kind of builds it at this like curved structure, it insulates into his little.
Wow.
It was insane.
That's so cool.
And he's just like sleeping on wood sticks and like.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
it's cool skills to have.
Absolutely.
How old is your son now?
He's 3.
3.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Bennett, you're 3 now. It's time to become a man.
It's time to become. Actually, hey son, we're gonna be in here.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to build your shelter.
Just hand him like a 22. You're like, go get some squirrels, buddy. Yeah. We need dinner. We're hungry.
He's skinning them. Imagine just like in his little PJs, like holding it by the tail. Like, I got dinner.
Have you ever had squirrel before?
No.
Last time I was hunting, these like 18, 19-year-olds were with us, just like some like family of friends and stuff, and they each shot a squirrel and skinned him and cooked him up.
Dang.
Yeah, I tried it. I mean, it basically just tastes like chicken breast.
Yeah, what does
like,
it? That's like the tastes like chicken.
Yeah, it's like no flavor to it. It was just dry, like lean meat, but it was just so funny. We had like steaks with us, and they were like, "We're gonna make
the squirrel."
Like, all right, man, whatever.
Like, what about this over here?
Yeah, we brought ribeyes. Like, no, we're gonna shoot some squirrels. Like, all right.
That's insane. Like, is that just so that they could fully be immersed in the experience?
Yeah, they were just having fun. They were just curious. But
hey, man, when in Rome, they say.
Yeah, my first time ever having squirrel. I probably won't try it again unless I'm starving.
Checked it off the box.
Yeah, I've eaten squirrel before. Now I know I can if I'm in a survival situation. No big deal.
If your life was dependent on squirrel meat. We've talked about this a little bit on this episode or on this show, but the show Alone, have you watched that?
Oh yeah,
where they we just finished like season 11, and they're like everything that they catch, they cook in like boiled water.
Yes.
Bro, it's so gross.
Everything.
Squirrel, mink, fish,
Yeah.
What's the grouse is like another big
Yep.
game bird that they'll catch. And they just boil all the meat.
Everything they're eating is just boiled meat.
So gross.
Ugh. For like 2 months straight.
Yeah.
No salt.
Yeah, these dudes were like in the like legit Arctic.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I watched that season.
And they're like,
I wanted to get the moose though. That was intense.
he did. Yeah. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
And to think like he was able to store that and like smoke it, store it, and keep it safe from like, I mean, you're talking grizzly bears, like.
I honestly can't imagine going without salt for that long.
Yeah. Well, dude, these guys are
like
out there like
tripping.
70 plus, I think almost 80 days.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you survive without any salt for that long?
I mean, even you're just talking about like electrolyte imbalance, like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, none of them are out there like they don't feel good. You know?
Yeah. No, they're
Even if they have like enough food to survive, they're not like thriving.
You see some of those like before and afters and just like the difference in their like facial structure.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, they're losing like body fat on their like cheeks.
They get shredded.
Yeah. And speaking of, we're talking about
Yeah, perfect segue.
if you're trying to look for fat loss approach, don't watch alone. Don't go into the wilderness and starve for 70 days. There's much safer approaches to
You will lose weight, but
yeah, it's maybe not the safest.
that's funny.
You don't want to be at risk of like literally a heart attack or whatever else.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we were planning on today jumping into the topic of weight loss and specifically like fat loss versus weight loss.
Yep.
What the difference is, how to make sure that if you are choosing to try and lose weight or burn fat, like you're doing it intelligently and not just losing weight overall, but specifically hoping to lose body fat, maintain bone density, maintain connective tissue, maintain muscle mass, right? So yeah, you want to jump into that?
Let's do it.
All right. So I think maybe first we should define kind of like what the big difference is there between just
the
like,
two.
weight loss and fat loss.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately you're talking like weight loss could be any bit of your body composition, like losing that. And so if you're not intentional about, we'll get into how you structure your nutrition and what your approach is to exercise in that process. But if you're purely just, calorically in a deficit and you're losing weight, you were not actually partitioning the fat that we're losing in that. So, there's ways that we can be smarter about our protein intake. There's ways that we can send signals to our muscle to retain that as we lose weight. But ultimately it's like, if you're just losing body weight, like you're going to lose mass and then maybe not like what's left,
Yeah.
when it's all said and done.
The key here is like you can lose weight on the scale,
Yeah.
but actually end up looking worse.
Totally.
And feeling worse. So just because you drop 10 pounds on the scale doesn't necessarily mean that you look better or feel better. You could actually like look softer. You could be more skinny fat. You could have lower energy, lower body temperature because your metabolism came down, right?
Yeah, this is like really big right now with like the GLP-1 usage.
That's a big concern with the GLP-1 usage, right?
A lot of people who are hopping on those, they're showing upwards of like 50% of the muscle or 50% of the weight they're losing is muscle potentially.
Yeah, muscle, bone density.
Yeah, and like it's like there's almost like a coined term now of like Ozempic face or whatever that is because you'll notice that it's like, oh man, that person like you're almost like, what's wrong? Like that like they look sickly or because you're losing like vital.
And what that comes from is just not eating enough, right? So, like the GLP-1 signals satiety, so people just end up kind of eating less food overall.
Yeah.
But if you're just starving yourself, if you're just eating less, you will lose body fat, but a lot of the weight that you lose is also going to be muscle mass, bone density, water. And again, it's just your body basically consuming itself because you don't have the calories that you actually need.
Yeah.
Right. So you can use a GLP-1 and do it intelligently, make sure you're lifting weights and eating enough protein. Again, same thing with a caloric deficit, right? We can be in an intelligent, structured caloric deficit, which can result in much, much more effective weight loss, specifically the weight coming from fat itself.
Yeah.
I have a client actually I was just talking about with us today. We were talking because 2 days ago she did her first bodyweight chin-up ever.
Okay.
And it was really cool because she's been training for a while and she's strong. She's very strong. She's a little bit more like dense. So like she's really strong squatter, really strong with deadlifts. And her pressing and pulling strength is really strong, but she just did her first ever chin up.
That's big time.
And yeah, it's badass.
Yeah.
And she's not at the lightest weight that she's ever been. She's been 15 to 20 pounds lighter than she is now, but at that body weight, she couldn't do a chin up.
Yeah.
She couldn't squat as heavy. She wasn't actually even as good of like cardiovascular shape as she is right now.
Yeah.
So she was talking to me about the scale, and I was asking her about that, and so her weight hasn't changed much, but all of her lifts have gotten stronger, and now she's doing body weight chin ups. It's like that right there shows that she's definitely lost body fat and gained muscle mass, even around the same weight.
Yeah.
And so, even again, just focusing on that number on the scale isn't always the best metric or shouldn't be the only metric.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think like strength is a key factor that if you're focusing in on that, you're going to be way more inclined to like keep going and not be like frustrated. One of my clients actually just shared, like, she's like, when I feel discouraged, when I feel like extra bloated, or if it's, like for women that like the time of the month happens and like your body composition will naturally adjust based on stress factors and all of that. And she's like, I'll just like find my tightest pair of pants and like try that on. She's like, if I know I got like room there, it's like that like encouragement kind of comes back. Because there's just so much better markers for like success in terms of weight loss. Like the scale has the ability to fluctuate. Like just before we hopped on this episode, we were talking about our like DEXA scans that we had uniquely gotten. You could hop on a body fat scale. If you did that like every day, like within a week span, every single day, that's going to give you a different reading.
Yeah.
Just like, and ultimately it's about looking at the greater trajectory of the, span of time.
Yeah.
And then making sure, like we're diving into today, that you've got your ducks in a line, that you're moving in that positive direction. So
yeah, I mean, especially with something like an in-body where it's like the like electrical impulse based measurement where like there's like room for error there. Like, so like you were saying, if you step on that every single day, that could show you a different result pretty much every single day.
Absolutely. Even so much as like simply like taking it before you go to the restroom and then using the restroom and coming back and getting on it again. There could be like a 2% difference in body fat just because of the fluid distribution.
Easily half a pound to a pound different on the scale. Yeah. So I think, where maybe we should start with talking about how to effectively lose body fat instead of just losing weight is how to structure a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
We know that if we're too aggressive with the caloric deficit, that we end up losing a lot of weight, but not all of that is specifically fat. So if we're too aggressive, we'll lose weight quickly, but we will lose muscle mass and connective tissue and bone density at a similar rate that we're losing the body fat as well. Because again, we're just not giving our body what it needs. Yeah. And so it's just going to consume itself. Also, when we get to the point where we're not eating enough calories in that way, where the caloric deficit is too extreme, our metabolism drops, our non-exercise activity drops, our sleep gets worse. We end up running on cortisol and stress hormones, and all of these things have an impact on how we're losing weight and what kind of weight we're losing.
Yeah, and I think what people miss is like maybe not taking into account how intuitive and smart the body is. Like it's its own ecosystem, and it's really intelligent on like adapting to what its environment is. And so if like you're really aggressively like eating a low amount of calories just to get to your quote unquote end result, like your body can actually create evolution around the calories that are coming in. It's like it will recognize, okay, this is the new standard. I need to evolve to like survive off of what's present. And if you have an increased stress environment, like it's not going to do a good job of like partitioning fat storage to be used as energy. And you could actually even like I have clients who it's like they're eating a lower amount of calories than they've ever consumed. You would assume that because that caloric deficit is grander, that the weight would be coming off. But the body's stressed, like it's going to go into storage mode. Like it doesn't know when that next meal is coming. Like it kind of becomes a very chaotic environment to create success. So, and it's like even if you're seeing weight loss come off, will you plateau at a certain point because you can only eat so little amount of calories? So yeah, and it's important, I think, to note like RMR, like your body has this resting metabolic rate, which is like the amount of calories that you need just purely for survival at rest. When you eat less and less and less calories, that RMR naturally is dropping. So talk about evolution, like your body is evolving to survive off of less and less calories, which makes it that much harder to lose weight in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and when your body is going through that adaptation, it stops prioritizing certain functions in the body and starts prioritizing others, like the ones that are most important for keeping you alive.
Yeah.
So your body ends up running off of fewer calories, and it becomes quote unquote more efficient, meaning it needs less calories to survive, right? But you end up not recovering from injuries as quickly. You end up not recovering from workouts as quickly. You end up not having as much energy on a daily basis. You end up not, feeling as mentally focused or driven in your life because your metabolic rate is coming down. So your body is inherently kind of slowing down all the processes because it recognizes, okay, we were eating 3,000 calories a day, but now we're only eating 2,000. So we have to be mindful about how we're expending energy. And if you do that long enough, the body fully adapts to that. And now you've kind of backed yourself into a corner where your new standard is 2,000 calories. And if you eat anything more than that, then your body starts putting on body fat.
Yeah.
So this is what we see with people who have been kind of like in gym culture or in diet culture for like a long time, or they've done a lot of yo-yo dieting in their lives where they've gone through periods of really extreme calorie deficits to try and lose weight, and then they've kind of rebounded and regained the weight. We see this with people that have done that multiple times, is their metabolism is very slow, and it takes a long time to kind of work them out of that hole that they've dug for themselves, right?
Yep.
So so maybe speak to that, like, okay, what's a intelligent calorie deficit, or if you're working with someone who is in that space and you want to like kind of quote unquote reverse diet them.
Yeah.
Like how does that, how do you approach that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to start with the person's baseline, acknowledging like through conversation and working through like past history of nutrition, have they been someone who's been in calorie deficits for a significant amount of time? And if so, then they're probably a candidate for a reverse diet. If they're not, and we just need to get like body fat off, it's like a healthy calorie deficit range is usually somewhere between like 20 to 25% of your total daily calorie consumption. So if I'm someone who burns, let's say 2,300 calories a day, then taking about 400 or 500 calories off of that total and consuming that daily. So it's enough to trigger the response of like burning fat and making sure that obviously you're partitioning those calories appropriately, like enough protein, enough carbs, etc. But it's not so much that you're going to create so much stress in the body that you're not having success. In terms of like a reverse diet, like if you're someone who is in that calorie deficit, and
what is a reverse diet?
So reverse dieting is like where you're ever so gradually like raising calories to try and speed up the metabolism. Because metabolism functions off of number one, energy output, and number two, appetite. And if you've been in a season where you've, maybe been through a lot of stress or your body's experienced like a lot of trauma, like I have a client who went through like a pregnancy and then following that went and had a surgery like to remove her gallbladder, and like those are stressful environments. But she wants to lose body fat. But ultimately it's like if my body has experienced those like trauma experiences, like it's hard for it to like become de-stressed to lose body fat. So ultimately, like she would be a great candidate for a reverse diet. So we want to create a speeding up process of metabolism. If she's strength training, if she's sending a signal to the muscle that it's necessary to retain, she's burning more energy, maybe we would increase like a step goal throughout the day, some simple, just extra activity. And in the process, we'd slowly walk up calories. And not so much so that she's adding body fat and just all of a sudden like gaining a bunch of weight rapidly. Yeah. But we're talking like 100 calories like every couple weeks, or 150 calories every couple weeks.
Enough to communicate to the body that like, okay, we're giving you more food, more energy. Yes. You can start to upregulate the metabolism a little bit. You don't need to store this extra food. We can use it for energy.
Exactly. It's like taking yourself from like, just a helpful analogy maybe. It's like taking yourself from like a V like a 4-cylinder vehicle to like a 12-cylinder vehicle. Like, you know, hopefully we become the 12-cylinder, but ultimately it's going to get to a spot where it can appropriately burn through fuel and be efficient with calories and like do what we want it to do. You're creating a new baseline. So that way, you know, if we create a new standard where daily you were burning, let's say 500 calories more than you were without really doing a whole lot more, then it's much easier to cut calories and create that natural deficit and then start to see body fat come off.
Yeah. So if you are someone who is in the position where you want to lose weight or you want to lose body fat, but you've done this, you know, 3, 4, 5+ times in your life, it may be really beneficial for you to take 3 to 6 to even 12 months to really slowly reverse diet, try to really slowly add calories. And you have to be the challenge with this is that you have to be very specific and very structured so you're not, you know, accidentally adding 300 calories or accidentally, you know, ending up in a deficit some days. Like you have to be very meticulous with the food that you're giving yourself so that you know, okay, I'm in like a roughly 100 to 200 calorie surplus, and you're weight training with the goal of building strength and building muscle so that you're slowly, again, ramping up that metabolism. And if you do that over the course of 6 to 12 months, then you can put yourself in a position where, okay, now I'm eating 500 calories more per day than I was 12 months ago, and I'm not gaining weight.
Yeah.
That's a great place to be in because now you can pull that 500 calories away, maybe not all at once, and start to see yourself lose some body fat.
I like that you said the word meticulous because like I think a lot of people can get into that spot where they may feel like they have freedom to like consume extra calories and like without really, you know, taking record of it. I mean, that could be anywhere from 300 extra calories or 100 extra calories to like 1,000 extra calories because in their mind they feel like, oh, I have freedom to like consume more, you know, and then you start racking up the body fat versus being smart about how we're adding, you know, weight and stuff. So yeah, tracking is a very helpful tool in this sense, like being able to actually say, okay, I'm going to increase my carbohydrates by just this much. I'm maintaining my protein intake. You know, my fat storage is moderate, things like that.
Yeah.
You're taking record of the types of foods that you're consuming. It's not just like a bunch of ultra processed, like high caloric stuff.
Yep.
Being meticulous is appropriate when it comes to like doing a reverse diet. Cause if not, then you could actually end up in maybe a worse spot than when you started.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So then as far as the calorie deficit goes, like you said, 20 to 25% of your calories. So 20 to 25% calorie deficit. To make sure that you're not overdoing it. Doing more than that will maybe make you lose weight faster, but you're gonna end up losing muscle mass, not just body fat.
Yes.
Doing that, and then of course making sure you're getting adequate protein so that you're signaling to your body that you can maintain the muscle mass you have. Adequate and balanced carbohydrates and fats for your metabolism, so your metabolism stays balanced. And then obviously the quality of food is really important too.
Yeah, the protein is massive. Yeah. Like. What we'll get into the hormone changes that happen when you're in a calorie deficit. You know, your leptin, ghrelin. Ghrelin is your hunger response. Leptin is your satiation response. So your leptin is going to increase or decrease. You're going to be less satiated because you're eating less calories. So one of the jobs that protein does, one of the roles it plays is it creates satiation. It takes a longer time to digest and process within your digestive tract. And so consuming enough protein will help you stay a little bit more full throughout the day. But then, like you mentioned, it's also going to help keep the muscle on the body because that's the goal. It's like you could lose all the weight in the world and not like what you see after you finish. But if you build some muscle and then you retain that muscle as you lose body fat, then you're going to like what you see when it's all said and done.
Yes.
So yeah, having enough protein is vital. And then the carbs like play a big role too. If you can look for kind of like high volume carbs that again create that satiation response, like, you know, vegetables are one where you can consume that in a high quality, starches, potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, like things like that, where you can, again, a little bit higher in fiber, a little bit higher in density. It's going to like digest over a slower period of time within your digestive tract. So like, that's kind of like where I would encourage folks to like focus their attention on when it comes to what types of foods they're consuming. Cause yeah, that leptin response is going to increase. The ghrelin response, like you're going to notice you're more hungry like all the time. So yeah,
getting that protein will help you feel more satiated. And And then, yeah, like you said, carbohydrates, if you're eating carbohydrates that are a little bit more fibrous, it's going to just kind of fill you up a little bit more and help you kind of maintain, like you're not going to feel, your stomach's not going to feel as empty necessarily. So leptin, ghrelin, those are two hormones. Another thing that you mentioned was stress and the stress of being in too deep of a deficit. How does stress play into this? And then, link that to cortisol, right? Because, cortisol is something that we release and upregulate as a hormone when we are under more stress, whether it's like perceived stress, like something threatening just happened, or you're stressed about finances, or you're stressed about your job, or you're in like a deep calorie deficit and your body doesn't have as much energy to run on. You end up running on some of these stress hormones, right? Like adrenaline and cortisol. How does that cortisol play into this weight loss?
Yeah, I mean, if your body is stressed, then it doesn't do a good job of what's called like fat oxidation. So like freeing up those fat stores to then be used and burned as energy. So your body kind of goes in that fight or flight mode, and you think like, okay, we've said this before in the past, but that idea of how I'm in the wilderness and I'm being chased by the tiger and I got to go, like your body is not thinking about like, oh, I got to burn fat while I'm doing that. It's going into, no, I need to store these calories. I need to like brace down. I need to focus on what's important. And so, yeah, the higher that cortisol response is, the less it's going to seek to burn body fat. And yeah, if you're in a greater deficit, like you just mentioned, your cortisol response will increase. And if you're constantly in that like sympathetic nervous system state, then again, your body is not looking to burn fat. It's looking to survive. So making sure that, you're appropriately decreasing your calories, you're getting good sleep. We'll talk about cardio and the role that can be, the role that can play in fat loss, weight loss. We talk about doing a lot of steady state cardio where we're not like overly stressing the body is important. Strength training, all that stuff, but making sure that the intensity of your output matches the intensity of your input. Like your body only has the ability to perform and or recover as much as like we're allowing it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like if your workouts are like too aggressive and creating like a cortisol spike, like some of those really high intense, CrossFit sessions, things like that, or you're going for like 13-mile runs or and that's what your training looks like all the time, and you're tired, you're not getting good sleep and all that stuff, like good luck losing body fat. Yeah.
I a couple of things that I've seen in my own life and seen with clients that can have a really, big impact on cortisol, especially when you're in this calorie deficit, you're more susceptible to it. Workouts that go longer than like 45 minutes to an hour really jump your cortisol. So like around that 45 minute to 60 minute mark, you see cortisol starting to ramp up. So if you're doing like long, hard workouts, then you're going to be upregulating your cortisol a lot. And then you're going to stop seeing the benefits from the workout as much because like you said, the cortisol breaks down muscle tissue. It blocks fat oxidation, and that cortisol lingers around in your bloodstream, for hours after that workout's done. So that's a big one. And you can do intense sessions. I think it's great to do intense like weightlifting sessions where you're doing, heavy weightlifting and you're, pushing yourself during that, but trying to keep the effort, like the hard effort window between like around that 45-minute mark seems to be really effective for getting a good stimulus, but not upregulating cortisol too much. Another one is eating too late and eating your carbohydrates too close to bed. So if you're eating your carbohydrates, definitely depends on what kind of carbohydrate too. If it spikes your blood sugar a lot, then that's going to be worse. But if say you're eating, a large portion of your carbohydrates in the evening, an hour before bed, and you're going to bed with blood sugar elevated, then you're going to be on a blood sugar roller coaster during sleep, right?
Yeah, so that's where you get some of those like wake windows, like those like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. wake windows, and you're awake and you're just like, you feel kind of wired and you don't know why. Like that could be a huge contributor.
Because if you go to bed with your blood sugar elevated, then your body releases insulin to bring it back down, and then your blood sugar drops too low, and then your body releases cortisol because your blood sugar is too low and it needs to come back up. So then your body is trying to adjust to this like big dose of carbohydrates that you had just before bed. It's kind of confused, so it's releasing insulin, and then it comes down, then it's releasing cortisol, and that's when you get that wake in the middle of the night around like 2, 3 a.m. You wake up, you feel wide awake. It's because your body just dumped cortisol.
Yeah.
Now you have trouble getting back to sleep. You wake up in the morning, you're not rested. Now you're either running on caffeine or you end up running on more stress hormones throughout the day. So that can be a vicious cycle where your cortisol is staying more elevated throughout the day. And again, if that cortisol is elevated, you're getting less fat oxidation, which means less fat burning, and your body's unable to build muscle and repair and recover from those strength sessions that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know that like I don't think that like eating late at night is like the enemy. It's just about like more so what are you eating?
Yeah.
Like if it's a little bit more like higher protein option, like you had some Greek yogurt or a protein shake or something, like actually sometimes if you're struggling with the cortisol response at nighttime, like that can be a tool that you could implement of just like, okay, try to have some protein before you go to bed. And still you do want some window of time because ultimately like you're not going to get great sleep if, you know, you just had a big meal or something and you go to lay straight down and now it's in your esophagus and you get some of that, you know, acid reflux, but the protein potentially before bedtime could kind of counteract.
Help stabilize your blood sugar.
Exactly. Stabilize the blood sugar and prevent that wake window and cortisol spike.
Yeah. I think as long as it's not too close to bed to where you're not going to get as deep of a sleep if your body's sending a lot of energy to digest the food that you just ate. So there's like kind of a sweet spot of making sure you're eating, you know, trying to eat around 2 to 3 hours before bed and having something that's a little bit more protein, fat heavy to balance that.
Like a little bit lighter.
Yes.
Like I'll notice this, like my wife and I will go on like a date night and we'll eat a meal that's a little bit heavier than normal. It's a little bit later because, you know, that's just the time that we're going. And yeah, my sleep is definitely affected by that.
Get that chocolate cake for dessert.
Yeah, right. I even like a big old steak, dude. Like, you know what I mean? It could be what you think is a quality meal and or good nutrients. But still, man, it's like you go to lay down, your body's like prioritizing digestion and not sleep. And you're getting some wake windows. You're not getting like full on REM, deep rested sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
We were talking about like the importance of muscle. We've mentioned insulin quite a bit. I think it might be important to kind of like touch on that. Like what is the role that insulin plays in carbohydrates, distributing carbohydrates, muscle, etc. in terms of fat loss?
Yeah. So your body releases insulin to shuttle blood sugar or shuttle sugar out of your bloodstream, right? So when your blood sugar gets elevated from eating carbohydrates, then insulin is released to help shuttle that blood sugar either into muscle to be stored as glycogen, or it will get shuttled into fat storage. Now, what kind of determines whether that's getting shuttled into muscle mass or to fat storage is there's a few different factors there. If you're lifting weights hard and you're eating carbohydrates, you know, post workout, your body is primed to shuttle those carbohydrates into muscle so that your body can restore the glycogen, the stored carbohydrate in the muscle mass, because you just use it for your workout. So you're primed to take on some carbohydrates, store it in the muscle, and actually replenish your energy stores. If you're eating carbohydrates kind of just like in a steady state where you're just kind of sitting around not doing a lot and you're eating them in a little bit of an excess, then you're not burning that off. You're not shuttling it into the muscle. That'll get shuttled into some fat stores. Now, the more muscle mass you have on your body, the more carbohydrate you can handle because you can store more of it. So having that metabolically active tissue that muscle mass is, the more you have of it, the more effective your body is at handling carbs and blunting that blood sugar spike. So you can handle carbohydrates, it gets shuttled into the muscle mass, and it's not stored as fat as much. But obviously, if you don't have muscle mass in your body or you're not training strength to try and build muscle mass, then those carbohydrates are not going to be used as effectively, and they're going to end up being stored in body fat.
Yeah, and one thing you said too, like I think it's important to know, it's not like, you know, you're sitting there having a bag of chips that's higher in carbohydrates and immediately that gets like stored to fat. Like I think there is this almost like painting the picture of like you have maybe a daily cup of what your carbohydrate total is. Yeah. And if you don't, like, muscle is going to burn like calories at rest, and or if I'm using my muscle, it's going to burn those calories and desire a need for those carbs. So if you have like your jar of carbs, it's going to lower that total because you've used some of that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not exercising, you're not walking much, you're pretty sedentary with your lifestyle, and you just keep consuming carbs, all you're doing is like, so as soon as you kind of get that spillover, that's when that turns into adipose tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, like mentioning just like the insulin sensitivity aspect, if you have less muscle mass on your body, if you have more adipose tissue and fat on your body, naturally you're going to have a greater insulin sensitivity, meaning like, or insulin resistance, meaning that most of the carbs that you're consuming, just like you said, are going to be distributed to storage and not used for energy. But if we can improve our muscle, if we can improve how much we're moving our body, using our body, burning energy throughout the day, then we can drive that insulin resistance down, and our body becomes, like you said, that much more effective in using carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We become sensitive to carbohydrates because we can, like, as soon as we eat them, our body can absorb them for energy and use them versus them being kind of either hanging out in our bloodstream, which can be toxic to the body, or being shuttled into fat, right? Which the body will shuttle them into fat storage in order to lower your blood sugar, because the sugar cycling and circulating through your body, just in your bloodstream, can be harmful to the body if your blood sugar stays high for too long. So if there's not enough muscle mass or you're not active enough, your body will shuttle that into fat stores to protect you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've even like shown in studies like an increased insulin resistance and carbs or like sugars just like floating around the body can like make you more prone to disease. Like, I mean, let's say you have cancer cells like floating in your body. It can actually like enhance those like in a really not so good way. It's not good to just have like a bunch of like unnecessary sugars like just floating around.
Yeah.
So yeah, be smart with your carbs. Like, and again, like carbs are not the enemy here. Like carbs are incredibly important.
It's a powerful tool.
It's absolutely powerful. Like your body needs it. Your body thrives on it. And even so much as just brain function, like your daily thought process, your mental clarity, like you need carbs. Like there's a funny clip. I think it's Ryan Gosling. I don't know what movie it's from. You've probably seen this on like a meme, and it said like, I mean, typically like middle-aged women are known for like kind of avoiding carbs. I just say that as like a baseline thing. But the meme is like me telling my middle-aged women clients like, and it's like Ryan Gosling in the street talking to somebody. He's like, your body needs carbs. Your brain needs carbs. You have to eat. It's just super funny because it's true. It's like you can't survive without them.
Yeah.
Like even so much as like improving your thyroid function, like improving your estrogen response if you're like a female. For men, like not like your hormones will be effective in helping distribute and utilize those carbs effectively, but you also need carbs in order to like create that communication signal.
Yeah.
Like it's so.
And your testosterone will be a little bit higher if you're eating an appropriate amount of carbohydrates. That insulin response from the carbohydrate consumption also helps shuttle electrolytes into the cell, not just carbohydrates. So it helps with hydration. Insulin is also an anabolic signal. So if you're lifting weights and working out, an insulin response with some carbohydrates at post-workout is going to help you grow muscle a little bit more effectively. So insulin is not just for carbohydrates. There's other benefits that come from triggering insulin intelligently and using carbohydrates intelligently.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think carbs get the bad rap when they're paired with fats. Like you think about like if someone were to just like give me the 10 worst carbs you could eat, they're going to say like donuts, pizza, cookies, pasta, like cooked in oil, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's actually like increased calories that is the enemy. If we're really going to like point the finger, it's not the carbs, it's not the fats, it's the combination of the two creating a surplus of calories that are then not having a good response as we consume a lot of that. Ultimately.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, well said.
Yeah, I think people need to like decipher the difference in that. So versus, pointing the finger at one thing or the other.
Yeah.
So
cool. Let's jump into kind of the different roles that like strength training and cardiovascular exercise play in this, right? I mean, not just for health, but like we're talking about weight loss versus fat loss. Yeah.
Cardio is an incredible tool. Maybe not so much for like fat burning specifically. I think it's great. I'll say this, like it's great for like burning calories, right? So like if my goal is to put myself in a deficit, and maybe you're not someone who does a lot of cardio, adding that little bit in can actually create a greater deficit without you really like trying that hard. So I think it's a great tool. Like you're going to, you could go for a jog and burn 300 calories in 20 minutes, which is awesome if we're just trying to create that little bit of deficit. It's also incredible for a million other things, like it's cardiovascular health. Like you're improving the strength of your heart. It improves the way that it functions with your lungs, how it pumps blood to your organs that are vital, all that stuff. It's fantastic. But I think there's a healthy approach to mixing the two. Strength training is 1000% necessary. When we're trying to lose body fat, we have to actually send a signal to the muscle that it's necessary to keep around. So by lifting heavy weight, resistance training, with a proper program and progression and all those things, it's necessary because it's going to tell the muscle tissue that we have to keep that on the body. So that's important just as much as the cardio is important just for regulating cardiovascular functions and all that stuff. But pairing the two, not getting yourself in the loop where you're just, living and dying by cardio.
Yeah.
You look at a long distance runner, they don't have a whole lot of muscle tone on their body. And I don't think if your goal is performance and you want to look like that, awesome. I don't think like the general public would look at like someone who runs marathons for a living and be like, that's the physique I'm chasing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not bashing them. Like, no, but incredible athletes.
Yes.
But there's a very specific body type because the body is utilizing nutrients in a different way based on the performance.
You don't need a lot of muscle mass to be effective at doing cardiovascular activities.
Yes.
So when you're doing a lot of cardiovascular activities like running or biking, you're basically communicating to your body, because again, your body is that adaptation machine. You're communicating to your body, we don't need the muscle mass. We need to be more efficient at cardiovascular activity. So if you're in a deficit and you're pursuing a certain physique with where you look lean and you look muscular, prioritizing strength training is going to be really important. So again, we're keeping ourselves insulin sensitive. We're using our carbohydrates well. We're communicating to the body that we want to keep the muscle mass on even as we lose weight, and hopefully we're just losing body fat. And then using that cardiovascular activity, like you said, as a tool to either control our deficit or just, overall prioritize it as a means to an end for our health. Like, you may not even really need the cardiovascular exercise to be in the deficit that you want to be in, but the blood flow is great for recovery. Having a strong, healthy heart is great. The ability for your arteries and veins to be able to expand and retract and, generate and create and intelligently move blood flow around the body is really important. And then also, if you're more cardiovascularly healthy and in shape, you're going to get a deeper sleep with a lower heart rate, which is going to help with recovery too. So there's all sorts of benefits just, health-wise to the cardiovascular activity, but it doesn't burn fat. It just burns calories, which I think is an important distinction. Yeah.
And there's like zones, like an Orange Theory has built their entire premise off of like keeping you in specific zones. So you probably heard that term, like zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, 4, and 5, et cetera. Like there's certain zones that you want to live in that are more primed for like fat oxidation. If I get into like zone 3, 4, and 5, you're not really doing that. You're actually just using carbs, glucose as your energy expenditure. So, and what you'll find too, like, I mean, I've noticed this, I've increased cardio quite a bit in my daily weekly flow of my training. You actually start to like, if you're doing more intense cardio, your body will start to demand more carbs. And if you're someone who's trying to like eat in a calorie deficit, like sometimes that's not great because you're going to start craving more and consuming more because you're like, I got to fuel myself. I got to, and so like sometimes what I would coach, or more often than not, is doing more steady state activity, which to me you could define as like it's enough activity to where you could still hold a conversation. You're not so winded and grasping for air that you're like having trouble, like if you were to talk to someone, keeping that heart rate steady. But it's enough to where you're sending a signal to the body to burn calories, to use fat stores, etc. But you're not creating more stress. Like you had mentioned, like even with strength training, like I don't want to work out more than 45 minutes to an hour long, potentially, because if I do and I go over that, now I'm in stress mode. Now I can't recover. I mean, if you're adding in cardio, you're adding in strength training, like if every session you do is intense, like you're going to be stressed out all the time. So making sure that you have like a good balance of the two and you're honing in like how much output is actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's two types of cardio that can be powerful for weight loss if used appropriately. Like you were saying, steady state.
Mm-hmm.
So zone 1 or zone 2, it could be walking, could be a really light jog, could be like an easy session on the bike, something like that, where you're not getting to the threshold where you're burning carbohydrates, but you're staying in that kind of fat burning zone. That can be really powerful. Or the occasional really intense sprint.
A zone 5.
Yeah. So if I'm doing like a hard 15 to 30 second effort followed by a 2 to 3 minute rest, or I'm fully letting myself recover, that can be really intense. But what adaptation you're asking your body to do, what adaptation you're driving with that type of workout is you're actually going to increase your mitochondrial density. So your body's going to have more mitochondria per cell because you're asking for a maximal output of effort for that short period of time, which is very difficult and stressful to the body if you do too much. So that's what I'm saying, maybe once a week you do some sort of session like this. But by increasing your mitochondrial density, you can actually increase your metabolic output and increase the energy that your body's producing. So you can increase or try to maintain your metabolic rate, even though you're in a deficit, even though you're trying to lose fat, by doing something like that, where you're going really, really hard on like a bike or something for 15 to 30 seconds and then letting yourself fully recover and doing that for a few rounds.
That's awesome. I did not even know that. Like,
really,
I knew it was beneficial, like do those types of intensity sessions, but like the mitochondrial aspect of that's fascinating.
Yeah. Your body will actually you'll have more mitochondria per cell. Like it'll upregulate the amount of mitochondria in your body.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So a healthy balance of the two. And like the easiest thing is like a step goal. Like, any coach, you probably, it's like all over social media now, but like, see it everywhere.
It's it's a new thing.
Like it's a new thing, but just creating more natural movement, like simple things like you're going to the store, park a little bit further with the car so that you can get some extra steps. Like it doesn't have to be like, you're making this big commitment to like a 60-minute walk and getting out there. And although that can be incredibly beneficial and you should do that too, just creating more natural movement throughout your day.
Yeah. If you don't have the time to set aside an hour for a walk, you can just snack it, like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You take a phone call, you stand up and walk around. Like there's ways to kind of create that step goal throughout your day.
That's one of the things I'll ask a lot of my clients, like if they're, someone who works kind of in that corporate world, is like, do you have any meetings that are phone calls or like ones where you don't have to like show your face on a camera on a Zoom or in office? It's like, cool. Like put the AirPods in and go for a walk while you're doing it. 'Cause now you can kill 2 birds with one stone. And then you can't use that excuse of like, oh, I just work, I don't have the time. It's like, no, just even if you're in your house, like get up from your desk and just go to the kitchen and walk back a couple times and sit down.
Walk up and down the hall.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah. Trying to think what else.
I think just overall kind of like overarching is the mindset shift, of like, okay, we're not just trying to lose numbers on the scale.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might be in the case where they need to do that. And that's really important. If you're, 100 pounds overweight, like just seeing that number come down is going to be really powerful, but it's not just the number on the scale. We really want to focus on burning body fat without sacrificing any muscle mass, any bone density, any strength of our connective tissue, because those things are so important for our body, for our health, for our metabolism, right? So just shifting the mindset from being like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight to I'm trying to do things in a strategic way so that I'm burning body fat, and that comes down again to being in an intelligent deficit, eating clean foods, eating enough protein, strength training, and then not overdoing the cardio, but doing that intelligently,
Yeah, and all those things are not going to happen with instant gratification. Like,
ooh.
Right?
What?
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like there's an appropriate methodology that you just defined with all of that. If I want to have we're not just talking about like instant success. We're talking about like long-term success. There's a method. And if you follow that method, results will come. Absolutely. Whether they come in 6 weeks or they come in 6 months or they come in 6 years, if you just continuing to hack at the process, like they will come. But yeah, we can't just be chasing those like outcome goals and like summer's coming and I need to lose my 20 pounds in the next, 3 weeks. It's not going to happen. Like,
So you might lose some weight, but you're not going to look very good.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I've got a client who's down. I mean, when we first started, he was like about 350, and he just is right there about to crack the like 300 mark. And it's taken we're in this thing like a year. Like it's taken a good chunk of time. We probably could have got there a little bit faster, but it's just about effectively attacking the processes little by little, like making some changes here, adjusting some habits, increasing some movement, like changing some of the items that are on your plate when you sit down to have meals, and then just making sure you're effectively like you're training with intention and moving with intention, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it, man.
Cool.
Beautiful. Anything else?
No, go lose some body fat.
Go lose body fat. Maybe
build some muscle.
Maybe weight will come, but build some muscle. Yeah. And yes, again, process oriented goals, right? Focus on the process and let the outcomes happen naturally.
Yep.
All right, man.